created my own little algorithms to do one thing or another, like disease states, a mortality algorithm. And
I think you will have a whole levels of robotics, that humanoid robots or non-humanoid robots, whatever the case is.
But the one that I really gravitated towards was Alteryx. Low code, no code, business intelligence stuff, data science, machine learning, things like that.
Audio, the text, and then there's big metaverse buzz. Everybody knows the metaverse.
Another week of AI.
How do we tie this into the CMC discussion, Brian? Like Darcy and Brian, tell us a little bit about the CMC side of things, because okay, I'll tell you my concern here. What if somebody's out there that has access to CMC information and they never separated their, again, I'm going to get into something technical, but ask me more about it if you have any questions. You always need data for training purposes to develop an AI, right? No matter how big of an AI, small or big, you always need access to data. All of a sudden, you have this data that's coming from Pentagon, and you don't understand the difference between the data that's coming from Pentagon and your data that you're allowed to use. Above the fold situation, right? Somebody used Pentagon's data to train their model. There we go, right? So kind of give us a glimpse into it. What do you think about those data that's being stored, and how does CMC play into that? Darcy or Brian, if you guys want to take a shot at this.
I was going to let Brian talk about it, because I am not aware of where AI fits in CMMC. I don't know that it's, and Brian can probably answer that question.
Yeah.
Or maybe.
Yeah, because hacking is same. It's like, CMC data or non-CMC data, right? CUI or non-CUI. Mm-hmm. I'm going to hack either way. And if I have to train my data, where am I getting the data from? Is it the CMC data or non-CUI data? How do I know? Did I do my due diligence to separate those data, right?
Yeah, I think when it boils down to it, AI is just so fresh and new. Everybody's trying to get a piece of the pie. They're trying to figure out how it can be utilized. But really, let's just put AI to the back seat. Let's protect the data first.
Let's protect the data first. Right.
Let's focus on protecting the data first
Yeah.
before we start integrating AI, because there's so many different components in the seat. You and I, we've had extensive conversations for months now. There's still AI governance. The AI has to be governed. When we're talking about AI hacking AI right now, I mean, it's insane. So to inject AI into CMMC, I mean, if companies want to utilize AI and put good databases together to train AI to do and help them with some of their security postures, great, go for it. But let's not get too far ahead of ourselves. Let's focus on the basic foundations. And I hate to keep saying that, but it's actually true. And that's where a lot of companies, they missed it. And then now, as a result, because they're trying to be so sophisticated, you're missing that intricate details of just CMMC and the foundations of NES 800, 171. You've already missed a bigger picture. AI can assist us, but we don't need to start integrating AI to a point to where it controls everything.
Right.
I totally agree with Brian on that. It's like, security is the number one thing. So to implement AI in something that's not secure is crazy, because first AI has to know the rules. And so if you're putting AI into something with AI not knowing the rules, we know when AI knows the rules, it's an ally. But guess what? AI doesn't currently know the rules. And so it becomes a threat. So for you to not have security, you already have a threat. So then to put AI within that cybersecurity space, that's threat squared. Yeah. That's bad news bear. It's trouble waiting to happen.
I guess you can't insure that one anymore. It's uninsurable.
I think you could look at it. So how I've even used it in we'll say the CMMC space, not directly in the CMMC space, but as you're saying, an ally in drafting policies or doing the parts that, none of us really enjoy, all that documentation, that procedural piece, and using it as an assistant in those areas, or being able to look for gaps in your policies and procedures, your governance piece. You're even giving you ideas how to question maybe your decision making and some of what you're putting in place, not specifically for that CUI, but in looking at your operations in general. Because one of, like we're talking about, the CMMC requirements, particularly level 1, I've been telling business clients constantly, you need to be there anyway. I don't care who's requiring it from you. You, for your business security and your customer data security, need to be there anyway.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
yeah,
we're all behind.
Yeah, I think that's the kind of like the theme of this discussion here, is that this is so old, we are still catching up to the old, right? But the new stuff is here. Like, what do you do now, right? The new stuff is AI. New stuff is this fast data processing, fast hardware, fast software that does miracles, right? And how do you engage with that in a sensible way so you're not doing your, I guess, antithesis of due diligence, right? You're doing your due diligence to say, okay, look, if I'm going to have to write a disaster recovery plan, should I use AI? And should I use AI extensively to tell it, this is what happens last time? And I'm quoting again, CrowdStrike, right? The blue screen that we all saw back in October, right? I think October, where the whole world shut down because of Microsoft, and CrowdStrike went down, right? So what happened? Well, CrowdStrike and Microsoft didn't care. No, they did. But the customers that didn't have any system and didn't have a good disaster recovery put in place, should have they been thinking that, disaster recovery in 2025 is far different than 2015. Should we use AI to write our disaster recovery? Should we be doing some of this documentation? We should update it now that we have ChatGPT, now that we have Gemini, now that we have all this large language model, right? Can we do some things differently now, but not all of it? Because all of it means trouble, right? That's the due diligence piece of it, that, hey, CMC data should not be going into a ChatGPT prompt, right? You should not be dragging and dropping a CUI document into the CMC chat folder, right? So anyways, you get my point.
But that goes right along with the creating parameters and writing rules for your AI. So if it's gonna help with your automating your compliance, then you've already written those rules into your model. It's not blindly using it and then it's just choosing to go its own way and going off on a tangent, and then it goes back to the movies like, oh, what happened? The robot has taken over. There's no longer the human in it. What's happening? That's going to create a fear because you're automating something that has no parameters.
I love some of those movies, but most movies, they start off with the scary robot scenarios and they show it within an hour and a half how it ends for us. It's like, can you show me that one that we're in right now and slowly tell us how you get there in an hour and a half, instead of just jumping us into Terminator?
Well, it's always, I can tell you, with all of the movies that I have seen of late, it's always because everyone's trying to go somewhere very quickly.
That's right.
And so they let down their guard, and the protocols they may have used in the beginning, they're trying to get there very quickly. So all of that goes to the wayside, and then they're left with the monster, and they're like, "Oh, what happened?" Well, what happened is you remove the human out of it, and you allowed the robot to dictate the AI to dictate the rules, and then reiterate itself, right? So the program is reprogramming its own program to become something that you can no longer control as a human. And then what do you do?
Yeah. Well, if I can tell you one company and one name without feeling guilty about it, the Chinese AI that does surveillance all over the China is called Skynet. Mm-hmm. I don't know if there's a joke behind it. I just want to say it out loud. That system is called Skynet, and Skynet is what Terminator used as the evil program, right? AI program, but none of my business. That's in Chinese Mandarin, maybe. Who knows?
All right. Well,
if I were to encourage anybody to go see Megan 2.0.
Oh,
Okay.
Megan 2.0, it was a wonderful message about AI. Not giving out the nuggets of the movie, but it really showed it. I was very impressed with the message behind AI. And in a nutshell, I think we've all touched bases on it. You know, it's training your AI to do whatever it is to make our lives easier, not for it to go into a deep learning and then start doing things autonomously on itself. But when you're talking about CMMC and AI, I'm like Darcy. That let's just leave the AI part because or are you going to train your AI to label all of your CUI? Or are you going to be sending CUI unencrypted? Or are you going to train the automation? So let's just, before we get too far ahead, let's get back to the basics. Get our clients, all of our, everyone that's handling CUI data, get that stuff labeled wherever it is. Get it labeled. Let's get back to the basic foundation, and let's not convolute this whole thing with AI. Because Darcy, I think, made a great point. We can use ChatGPT to maybe perhaps tweak some documentation and some governance, right? Some compliance. But ultimately, we still have to have the human element to go over because AI doesn't know what we have in our environment. They don't know it doesn't. We have to train it. We have to train AI. So we still have a responsibility, as organizations, we have a responsibility to go through our own SSPs and our PROAMs and all of our risk assessments and security assessments. I even encourage companies, do a pen test, do a penetration test so that we can go through that thing very thoroughly, so that there's no type of, there's no confusion. We're all on the same page. We know where the vulnerabilities lie. Now let's work together so that we can help remediate those things.
Yeah, I mean, you're describing something that is, where we've been as is and to be, right? And we gotta take some action to become something else, right? And so, I think this part, let's kind of go through each of our background here, right? Brian has this amazing setup where people that are looking to do upskilling or professional development or just start a new career, right? His subject matter expertise is all the things that he's talking about, right? We have to educate ourselves, and education doesn't necessarily just starts with that idea that I need a new job, right? Just being aware is plenty, actually, because that means you are the defender of your system, and that system doesn't matter where it is, right? Be in manufacturing, be in a hospital, be somewhere else. You're not supposed to click on that blue link just because you see it, right? You're not supposed to do a whole lot of things. So, Brian, why don't you give us a rundown of your services and your subject matter expertise? Because this is what we do in Smart AI community. We bring in businesses, we bring in folks to talk about their businesses and some of the things that they advocate for, right? The SMART, the A in Smart AI stands for advocacy, right? We want to be able to advocate for whatever we're passionate about. So Brian, Masako, Darcy, Tony, let's go for it. Let's tell people what it is that we're passionate about and what type of services that we provide. Brian?
Well, I'll say my passion has always been help. Even when I was a little kid, growing up in the church, I would watch elderly people struggle to even get up the stairs. So I just had a niche to help those people. Because I had a responsibility as a young person. If I can do something to help someone, then that is my responsibility because it's who I am. So throughout the years, my military career and now being the name and the face of this organization that we all love, it's all about assisting and helping. So that's the passion, is to help educate. So here at Stars Technology Services, we provide so much education. It is just enjoyable to see people's lives being transformed. But not only that, but when they actually go get a career path in this IT, the cybersecurity field. But not only that, we also provide the services that can help every organization from small entrepreneurship, small, medium size, large, and enterprise level. Security as a service. It's been It's been my go-to for quite a while now. Auditing as a service, compliance as a service, and then most importantly, training as a service. Because let's face it, everything, we have to be trained on everything, whether it's AI, whether it's cybersecurity, whether it's understanding how to use Microsoft Word. we can help and deliver that service so that it makes your job a lot easier. But not only that, we can help make your job easier, but we also can help secure it at the same time.
Masako, you want to go next?
Sure, I'll go.
It's talking about yourself. Easy one.
What was the question? No,
Tell us about yourself, please.
Tell us about myself. So I'm passionate about creating change within the communities that we live in, and one of the questions that I like to ask myself, and I would encourage everyone that's hearing my voice and watching my lips move right now, is to ask yourself the same question. And that question is, what are my best next steps to live my highest, best life? And so in that space, I have several things that I do, but it's all about community building. I'm a community builder. And so I partner with organizations such as Starks Technology Services, such as Kupa Solutions, such as Matrix Capital Trust, such as Educated Insurance Solutions Group, such as the Business Loan, smart way to get a loan for your business. And so I partner with organizations because when I partner with organizations that align with my core competencies, then that extends my reach to assist in community building. And that starts with the person within their household, and that goes far and wide to entrepreneurs, to business owners, in order for each individual to equip themselves to live life on purpose. Because that question is what are my best next steps to live my highest, best life? And oftentimes people don't get there because they don't ask the right questions, but that is the right question. Because when you ask that question, it aligns you with people, services, and resources that will help you get to your next best step. And oftentimes people just don't know that because they're not asking the right questions. And so they find themselves in a situation asking like, oh my God, how did I get here? Or, oh my goodness, I'm going through this again. And so that puts them on a cycle. And so I'm a partner, I'm a community builder. In those spaces, it's cybersecurity, risk management, artificial intelligence, data literacy training, leadership and workforce coaching, business continuity and strategic consulting, digital literacy, technology foundation, financial coaching, economic empowerment. So, people say that, oh, you do so much, but I'm like, but do I really? I'm simply being a community builder and reaching out my hand to touch the cloth of those individuals that need something more to get outside of their current space. And so my whole purpose is for each individual I encounter to know what keeps them up at night so I can assist them in living their best life.
I'll vouch for that.
And I'm the Macame. That's what I do. Did that answer the question?
I think you got to answer another version of that too. You got a part 2 coming up. But Darcy, how about you?
Oh gosh, you're gonna make me follow Masako after that. Ditto? I don't know. So what lights me up is connection. I mean, everything that Brian shared about being a helper and being of service to people, and what Masako shared about creating and I think connecting to, who your higher self is and what is possible. And I'm going to say my mantra, my catch line that I've shared with entrepreneurs for decades now, which is crazy to me, is anything is possible. And you just it's about commitment to that possibility. And we made all this up. we made this all up. It's not like it exists really separate from us. If we weren't here, it wouldn't exist, right? Humans. Humans. And so my background's psychology, that's my degree. I love human behavior. And I love the outreach of technology as part of that. I am an entrepreneur. I love entrepreneurs because of their passion for creating something from nothing. That is like the greatest, I think, amazing gift we have as human beings. And AI is kind of an incredible offshoot of that to me. Like one we envisioned for a long time, like a lot of things. And we don't have to make it dystopian. That's a choice, right? We don't have to, because we get to create how it happens. So I'm really, I feel very joyful and fortunate in life that I get to work with people who are actively creating things. And I think the piece that lights me up is to be able to offer suggestions or guidance of forming their own connections, building teams that you don't have to be the expert in everything. There are experts out there. It's creating those relationships and bringing those people in. And then again, we're bigger than, the sum of all the parts. And also even those basic pieces, like we're talking about compliance and regulation, those seem like really dry, boring things, but it gives us, it's where we do get to slow down. We do get to reflect on what do we really want and how do we want it to not just exist, but be sustained over time. We want it to exist over time. And so having those frameworks, having that foundation, making sure that it's solid and even can be replicated, is part of the part that lights me up. And then I just I geek out, and what Asif and I geek out all the time because we get into like the existential pieces of it. But to me, it's all existential. So I love what I do every day, and I'm very excited and fortunate to be, with the people I'm with.
Yeah. I mean, I love that. I love that we are all here to help other people, right? That's the theme here. I got a special treat right now because
wait a minute. Pause for a second, Asif. I want to say something because you and Darcy have said a couple of times this evening that governance and compliance is boring. But I'm telling you guys, looking from outside in, and I'm telling you guys, governance and compliance is exciting. And let me tell you why. Because it creates structure and discipline. And structure and discipline is where we thrive. That's because right. Everyone appreciates structure and discipline. Sometimes people act like they don't want it, but everyone appreciates it because it shows you that you love you. When you have the structure and the discipline, it allows you to thrive. So I'm telling you guys, you're saying it's boring, but I'm telling you it's not. With your governance and your compliance, that's exciting. That's the exciting stuff.
It's where things, it's the jumping off point. And it really is. And so thanks for saying that, Masako.
Yeah. No, well, I got a special treat because Tony can, jump into what Masako said, right? What is that one little cartoon that somebody says like, who wants structured data? Everybody raise their hand. Who's gonna clean it? Except for Tony. Everybody else like, put your hands down.
No, I can clean it. I can clean data. I have some data science immersive in my background. We love clean. That's another thing we love. We love structure. We love discipline, and we love clean.
There you go. Clean data. Who's gonna clean it? But I'll start with Tony here in a second because we have a special treat from Tony because he just recently finished his PhD. So not only are we going to hear about all of the things that he's passionate about, but we want to hear about his journey into this PhD world that he just been through, right? And we're going to be the audience here to learn from him, because as he's teaching us what he's been through, I'm expecting the other people to listen and say, yeah, I can do that. I can do that, because it's not easy, but to get started is the hardest part, right? And once you get started, you just continue, because that's me. That's all of us here, right? We started at one point and it's just continued, right? We never said, "Oh, this is it," right? I'm stuck here forever. No, nothing like that. So, Tony, my friend, I'm always looking for your next journey. So, but before we get started on that, talk to us about your past, where you've been and where you're heading next.
As a kid, I was always in love with knowing everything. I wanted, if it was something I could learn, I wanted to learn it. And because of that, I basically kind of fell into working with data. But I fell into, I talk about falling into places because serendipity seems to be my best friend. I came into 911 out of a badly worded job application, a job help wanted ad. They said they wanted a CAD administrator, no experience required. Well, what they didn't say was CAD meant dispatch, not drafting. So I'm thinking they're designing their own jails, they're designing their own guns. No, I'm being told, what do you do if 911 goes down? It doesn't. That got me the job. And then I fell in love with the idea that I was supporting heroes on a daily basis. Yes. Because, I'm sorry, those folks that sit in those seats, they are heroes beyond my abilities.
Yeah.
I was hired as a programmer, software developer. I became a data-focused software developer because I found the data was more fun to work with than the code that I was having to rewrite. I went ahead and finished a second bachelor's degree, started toward a master's. I wanted to focus in security because I wanted to focus on offensive programming. Forget defensive programming. I wanted to program offensively. I wanted to fix it before you knew it was broken or before anybody could figure out how it was broken. They said, nope, you don't have the background for it, but we have this data analytics program and you qualify. So I jumped into it. And then one thing led to another. I was analyzing how we responded to COVID-19 and how much of our response was technologically impacted and how much of it was people impacted. We found the technology was the bigger impact than the people. And I looked at my wife and she said, you're this close. You've always wanted a PhD. Let's go for the PhD in data science. And everything I did, I got in trouble with a couple of professors for it. Everything I did was focused around the centers, around working with my headset heroes and trying to find a way to make their lives better through the use of data. I've been lucky that I have done everything from architecture through data science, architecture, engineering, administration, management, governance. When it comes to data, I probably had my hands in it somewhere. I focused on one of the biggest problems in the centers, and that's staffing. We don't have enough people. But I got dragged into it when my director called me one day and said, have you heard of Erlang? Having a degree in software engineering, I'm like, yeah, it's a great programming language. You want to figure out staffing model using this programming language? It'd be a challenge, but it could do it. No. I went and looked, found out. I had no idea what she was talking about. I learned about Erlang algorithms, the queuing theory. At the same time, I was working on a PhD and realized they were telling us we needed to hire 3 times the staff that we had on hand. I'm seeing all the looks on your faces. Imagine the look on the city council's face when we wanted to go to them and say, we need to hire 3 times the number of people we currently employ. Yeah, Masako's face says it all. Yeah. We didn't do that. We said, how do we build a better mousetrap? And for me, it became, well, I can't tell you how many people you need if I don't know how many transactions you expect to handle. Yeah. So I started working on the other end of it. And I realized I'm a unicorn. I'm a database administrator and data scientist in a public safety answering point. There's probably maybe 2 or 3 other of me in the country that are dedicated to working in the center. There are other data scientists that work in the industry, but working in the center, there aren't that many of us. But I live in a rural area outside of the city I work for, and they have maybe 1-2 dispatchers. They have 2 dispatchers on shift at each time. They don't have the resources to be able to do all the things I can do, and they can't afford to go out and hire someone to do what I can do. So I became really interested in how can I make the technology and the data more accessible to anybody at any technology level. I wrote a dissertation on evaluating LLM-based forecasting models or zero-shot forecasting models. How well do they work? They work well enough for what we need. For somebody that doesn't have the training to sit down and do everything by hand. Can I outperform them? Absolutely. I'm going to be slower, but I also know all of the details and the nuances and the exogenous factors and I know what the data looks like because I'm up to my elbows in the guts of it every day. But for somebody that can't be, how do I help create tools, whether they're AI or non-AI, that enable them to unlock all of the information that is hiding in their data? I had a marvelous professor for my first master's degree. His name was John Tatum. He was working on his PhD at the time he got it. He was always talking about how you convert data into information. And that's been my mantra that I work with when I work with data. The data is literally just, for me, it's a play toy. It's the building blocks. What I want to know is, how do I derive meaningful, impactful information that makes the lives of those people sitting in those chairs in that center just that little bit better? Whether it's in prophylaxis by going out to identify problems in the community that we can fix, that we don't have, so we don't have a call come in, or how do we employ technology to help handle those calls better so that at the end of the shift, I keep all of the dispatchers I had. I'm able to attract more into the profession, and I take care of those folks by taking care of the data that we generate and finding new and inventive uses for it. And that's my passion, is taking care of them. And I went for the education because I wanted those letters after my name so people would take me a little more seriously in my industry. Because now I'm the expert that knows what I'm talking about. I was the same expert that said the same things 3 years ago before I had the PhD behind my name. But now that it's behind my name, I'm taken a little more seriously, and I have a little more clout to advocate for the things that I'm most passionate about. Using the data that we generate on a daily basis to make our communities better, to take care of our telecommunicators better, and to make a difference when somebody picks up that phone on their worst day. I've got the best people in the world answering that phone, and if I can support them, then my career has been worth everything I have ever done to get here.
Yeah,
Tony, I'm gonna see that 911 movie. I only reference I had of 911 before was the films that I had with 911 in it. But listening to your story, I teared up thinking about the dispatchers and the people calling in. I've laughed and applauded you and championed turning this data into information that we could use. Well done. Well done.
Do yourself a favor. Contact your local center. Find out wherever you live. If you live in a larger city, it's probably going to be it's going to probably have its own emergency communication center. Reach out to them and say, I want to know more, especially with you being, saying that your whole job is community building.
Mm-hmm.
Reach out to that community. Reach out to them and find out what they can tell you about your community. We are canaries in a coal mine. We can tell you what the problems are in your community because we hear them every day. We hear the problems. The trick is taking all of that information taking all that data in,
mm-hmm.
and then finding out what to do with the information we can generate so that we can take it back to you and say, here, we've seen the problems. We're going to tell you where they are. We can help you find solutions, but we need to work together to find the solutions and build our community together.
I love that. I'm going to talk to you offline to find out who's my point person on that.
Sure.
Yeah. I mean, we started with data at rest, and then canary and coal mine. It literally popped in my head. Wait a second. All the calls in the world goes to that center for all the problems that we have in our community.
Right.
Wow. That's
And it's not
you don't
just
think of it that
911
way. You go to the
calls.
library usually for problems, right? It's like, oh, I have a problem. I want to see the data sets. You go to the library or some places, not call centers. My goodness, that's
And
amazing.
it's not just the calls that come in when you dial 911. When you call the non-emergency number, in many cases it's a non-emergency number for your police department. You're still calling that same center. Right. You're just telling them this isn't life or death at this point. This is, I've got this guy that's parked in front of my house and that car hasn't moved for 3 days. Right. It's still an issue in the community that we can identify and we can help address. Just thankfully, it's not somebody's life is on the line or somebody's health is on the line. Right. And one of the things that we try to do, and you're talking about AI, one of the things that we try to do is we're trying to find ways to use AI in a way that protects the data, because we have personally identifiable information. We have protected health information that comes in. Trust, when you call in and you say, I'm having chest pains, we're going to go into 20 questions mode. And a lot of that's PHI instantly. And we are trained on how to handle it. I go through classes every year, twice a year, on how to handle CJIS, criminal justice information. I have to know how to handle it on the back end. I have to know what I can release. When we get FOIA requests in, we have to know what can we release, what do we have to redact, and I'm trained on that. I'm recertified on that every year. I take additional training and certification to make sure that whatever I do, whatever I touch is made sure that I protect as much as I have to, as much as I can. So when I'm interrogating you about this new application you want to deploy, it's because I know what I'm sitting on. And I don't want to let you have one drop more than you absolutely need to do what you want to do. And then I want to evaluate how you do it to make sure that what you sold me is what I'm getting. And to know what my data is doing when it's moving outside of my control. And I bring all of that back to CompTIA when I'm writing these exam questions, because I'm passionate about making sure that the people that follow me, because I don't want to be the only data scientist in the 911 center, but I also don't want to be the only DBA that handles this data. Yeah. I want to know that the people that I'm helping in that career pathway will take this as seriously as I take it, because this is all your data. This is all these facts about you at your very worst, and I'm protecting it like it's my own, because it effectively is my own. I take ownership of it when I step every day, when I step under the floor, when I step into my office. I'm taking ownership of everything that's in there, because that's how I know it'll be taken care of. Yeah. Because I know what my training is. I know what my skill sets are. And I know that I will take care of your data. Yeah. Because that's my mission.